There is an esoteric saying, which is, as above, so below. We're going to speculate what is above, which of course is the sky, and below, which is our Earth. As we have entered a new age and the 21st century, it's interesting to notice all the beautiful discoveries throughout the universe, and as we pay more attention to our Earth, it's interesting to speculate above and below. My name is Agneta Borstein, and I'm an astrologer, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this show, From the Sky to Earth. Today we're going to talk about the asteroids, feminine powers in astrology. Through the times that we have studied astrology, which of course is endless, we find through the ecliptic that in the 21st century, we go beyond what most of the time was 7 planets, then we discover new ones, and it's an amazing observation to be able to be part of still new discoveries. So throughout that, we're still discovering more because of instruments and the age that we are in at the time. So between 1801 and 1807, there was quite a few new discoveries with asteroids. Most of them lays between Mars and Jupiter. So the first asteroid that we're going to talk about is Ceres. And she is basically Mother Earth. She connects very much to caring for the Earth itself and take care of it, as we might need nowadays. She has a lot of compassion for that which needs to be taken care of. She is the sister of Jupiter, and Jupiter is a god that will be mentioned tonight because he's actually the wife. He's a lot of involvement. He's a big guy. So Ceres was his sister, and they were very close by in her ways of being connected to him, because in the sense of whatever she takes care of the Earth, this is her symbol for that we have. We always ground ourselves with a cross. It's not a cross as in Christianity, but it's the matter of being on Earth and enjoy it every day we are here. So the C stands for that Ceres, and every time we discover something new, there is the discussion about what are we going to be doing for the symbols, what is the myth, and so forth. And there is an astronomical society that decides that. Ceres is very important at this point because, as some of you might know, Pluto was in 1930. He was discovered in 1930. 1906, he was demoted as a dwarf planet. But in the discovery with new instruments, Pluto then got demoted. But Ceres is in the body just as strong, if not stronger, as Pluto in the mass. So now there is a discussion about who is really the planetoid you hear. You have dwarf planet. But Ceres is very important because her daughter, Persephone, was taken down to the underworld by Pluto. So every springtime there is the hope for her, her daughter Persephone, to be reunited with Ceres, because there's always that promise that she, Ceres, teaches us how to survive. New ways of crops, the harvest becomes different, and it's kind of shamanic how we're learning how to have new ways of surviving, if you will. And so Ceres and Pluto are connected as they are promoted and demoted at the same time. Now, if you wanted to look in your chart, you might know your birth chart, just the basic one. Most astrologer, the last, I would say, good 5 or 10 years, does include all the asteroids, which is 4, and we're going to go through a few little more, depending on how long the time we'll have together here, so stay with me. If you want to look up at your chart, there is a service, and of course you can have a lot of information on the internet now, but www.alabe.com. So you can also look at your asteroids where they are placed in your chart, because as we mentioned, they're all the feminine aspect of a chart. And of course, male has their feminine part of it too. At the moment, this is filmed in 2016. They travel quite fast, the asteroids, and they're never like really steady. They go what we call retrograded. It moves forward, but then it goes backwards in the sky, and that's a whole other program. But they move fairly fast to keep a track on them. So now, throughout 2016, Ceres, will be in Aquarius and go down to Pisces and all the way through Taurus and Aries, as it is with the zodiac sign, still on the ecliptic that we study, those connection. Now, the other asteroid is Vesta, and she's actually another sister of Jupiter. And she's actually the one that we can see with our naked eye at nighttime. Of course, that's when we study the sky. And she is more on the earth, as it is. We will see the symbol shortly, but she has a more grounding effect about how to keep that flame going. The flame about how to survive. And of course, in the olden days, everybody was, dependent on a fire, and I think nowadays maybe it's the microwave oven, but there's still an important role that the mother carries in the kitchen. Vesta rules the kitchen, actually, and how that whole food from our crops, or the Ceres, if you will, and how we feed, and it even comes down to intimacy, how to continue that flame of life. And is all those orientation for determination to learn different ways of how to survive. And Vesta, in a chart, we will look at a few charts soon, they are very prominent in people who know how to survive and the instinct about how to really move things and become stronger in the society. At this time, Vesta is in the sign of Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and a little bit of Leo, should you have any of those zodiac signs in your chart. And that's where she will travel throughout 2016, and perhaps something will happen in that way of caring for other people. And so the way, for example, this is an old image of Vesta when she was, kind of with still fire. We'd still use fireplaces as being, keeping warm sometimes and all that. But it's also about going into the modern society and knowing that the asteroids, once we look at them, they become very prominent. And so here is the guy Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest astronomical planet that we deal with. And in astrology, he's also the good guy. He's the good luck guy. And personally, as me being an astrologer, I'm a little cautious about him because sometimes he's overspending, overeating, overdoing things when Jupiter is in action. Now, Juno, she is an goddess. She does have power, but she also knows her place about how fashion, beauty, the flower arrangement. She's very dedicated to sometimes detriment. She's very dedicated and kind of, Jupiter always, infidelity comes around. He was always flying all over the place. So she would be the wife that would accept that in her own way, because she knew that there was some soulmate involved and she had to have her place because she was not weak. She just had to keep herself with the dignity and sometimes kind of cut that side of Jupiter, as he was very involved. And also astronomically, by 1930, we dealt more with Jupiter, Saturn, and kind of didn't have the outer planets. Well, that will be also around this time, 1841, when we discover other planets too. So she's committed to being a good wife and a mother, and that's important in any kind of society. And her symbols would be, she's actually, because of her position as the good wife, she is the queen of the heavens, and the symbols would be that symbol that we have the star in the sky, and again we ground ourselves with that information about how to be independent and still have a career in a changing society and allow Juno to be that which we are committed in a relationship, but enough is enough with Jupiter sometimes. That's why I'm quite cautious when I deal with Jupiter, because we have to have some good fortune, and we do in astrology. But I'm the one that is just a little cautious about his conniver, and he's a little mischievous at times, but we also do need the blessings from him. So, for example, we might look at a chart. Angelina Jolie, actually I have talked about her chart in another segment at Nutmeg Television. So here we're just going to focus on those asteroids that we just talked about, and we might jump up a little bit. But in the 11th house, if you can see this chart of Angelina Jolie, that's okay, you don't have to focus on us. But we know she's a Gemini, and Gemini goes, loves me not. By 30, she had already been through 2 marriages. So by the time she committed herself to the infamous, marriage to Brad Pitt, I was wondering where was her Juno in her chart. And we see it is kind of stuck in between the sun sign, her karma, the sun sign, Juno, and Mercury. It's all in Gemini. So when we see, I don't think she is a conventional wife, if you will, rather unconventional. But then when she puts 6 children and have to feed them into her family, she is an unconventional mother, and whatever they have to go through to come to the point where we see the scandals, but there hasn't been too many lately. So we find that also that the other asteroid that we talked about is up in her 9th house, which is the house of how we travel. We might live in a different country, and it's the house of the mind. We travel, we see a lot of different aspects of ourselves when we travel. We learn a lot. And so the 9th house is very busy, and she has the asteroids Vesta, that she has a commitment to grow in this one relationship that she has committed herself to. But she's quite fired up with both Pallas, which we will get to soon, Mars, which is action, can get, it's not only intimacy, but it's how we release our body. She can probably freak out a few times. Moon is in Aries too, and Jupiter, that planet that they are kind of coming together. They're not in the same sign, but they're coming together in this, what we call a stellium, when there's a focus on the mind over matters, if you will. And the first asteroid that we talked about is Ceres in the 10th house, and the 10th house is the public. So whatever we can read from adding on the asteroids in a chart, we sometimes, I think personally, we see them in prominent women, but to me, all women should or is prominent. So that would be one way to look at a very famous person. The other one is Oprah Winfrey, and her time, which I have used 750, but what I thought was interesting about just taking a chart of this Juno aspect that we just talked about the goddess, the asteroid that is the asteroid that is committed to a marriage. And I was trying to remember, Oprah Winfrey has been committed in a relationship for many, many years. I don't even know how many years, to be honest with you. But that sits very close if you look into the 12th house. Pluto is the planet of changes, and Juno sits there. Her being in Aquarius, which we see at the sun sign at the opposite side of the 12th house. We see it in the 5th house, but it's still Mercury, the mind is involved. So I think her unconventional way of being committed in a relationship is still unconventional. We know she always does her own thing, if you will, independently as she is. The other point of the asteroids that we have talked about is also Pallas, which we will get to in a moment, but just for now, since we're looking at Oprah's chart, is quite close to her personality as a warrior, as standing up for her rights. We will get to another asteroid, Chiron, which I want to point out now because they are very close together in what we consider in astrology a karmic point. Everything is karma, everything is fate and destiny, but we have a point in our chart to see what really is a focus between the sun, the spirit, and the moon, the soul. And hers comes in to the 5th house with her Chiron and the connection to the karma. It happens to be in this chart that we use as 750. We don't know for sure, but there is something there about how much she heals people in general. And in general, for her success, not just the monetary, the money, just in general, whatever she touches has that touch of she is fortunate and she gives out a lot of healing towards people. So we got to the 3 asteroids, and here we have Pallas. I do like her energy. It is an intellect. There is a warrior part of her, which part of those asteroids are strong. And she actually protects those in battle. And what does that mean? Does the people in war invoke her? I don't know that. But what it means that wherever we see Pallas at the moment, if we study a chart, Pallas could be important and prominent for those that might need to speak up in a changing society. And she brings wisdom, and she comes back into a peaceful solution most of the time because she is a strong and creative woman. And she is a little less emotional, and I don't know how that is to be the feminine and the masculine is no different, but she represents that we have that. Sometimes we just got to do what we got to do. There is a certain connection. If you see a strong Pallas in your chart, there could be a challenging or extra strong connection between the father and the daughter. And that's defense that we sometimes need to speak up for our rights. So this is the symbol of Pallas, and you can see that shield still grounding, and that would be the symbols. I thought, looking at Hillary Clinton's chart that we have, and that has been speculation lately about the correct time. This is not the time that I used to use, but this is the time 8:02 a.m. And we have always known that she's a Scorpio, but when you put the ascendant, which is the personality, it changes every 2 hours. So this would be what most people now into 2016 and coming up to election, it might be another segment in the future to look at the presidential candidates. But when we see her, Scorpio, no matter what, a true Scorpio she is. And with that, with ascendant 22 degrees in Scorpio, her mind, her Mercury is right on it, and that karmic node comes back again for the point of it. But looking at the asteroids, they are a little more like thrown out everywhere, not thrown out, but placed differently. I thought maybe it would be more prominent, but I thought it would be interesting to look at the asteroids. They are the second house is the house of finances, and there we have Juno. I wonder how much there will be about her being successful in her career in whatever she entitles, whatever she chooses, or whatever we choose for her future coming up very soon. And the Pallas, the Athena in the 3rd house, just in general, she does have a Pisces moon, which kind of, with that Scorpio, is all or nothing. She can hide secrets, she can tell them, she can tell it like it is, always the honest approach to her communication. And the Ceres, the one up there, oops, let's see, the Vesta up in the 8th house, and the Uranus also shows about financial things. I think a lot of things has happened in their career as president's wife, candidate, and the minister that she was. Those are the 4 asteroids, but as we notice, in the way of looking at astrology and the changes from the sky to the earth and incorporate that into our astrological language, in 1977, Chiron was discovered, and he's a little bit out, actually, between Uranus and Saturn and Uranus, a little further out, has a very unconventional pattern of how he travels around the ecliptic. So Chiron we use very much in astrology because he explains in very simplified terms about where we really need to go to do our own healing. As in, there's always that part of something in us that we might keep a secret, but it hurts us, so that we have to teach ourselves how to heal ourselves. Because Chiron, as he was discovered, the myth goes that he was the teacher of all teachers. He had his own school, but his buddy, Hercules, by mistake shot an arrow into his leg, into his ankle, I think it was, or knee, but I think it's ankle. And because of that, he got wounded. And actually in the sky, in the myth, which we kind of recreate even today, or we create myths today, and we recreate them by looking at ancient myths and bring them into absolutely all the planets, all the days of the week are named through the gods and the goddesses. So we have an immortal god in the sky by Chiron teaching us how to really go into holistic approaches about how to go back into ourselves and heal. And actually Saturn was his father, so there was a lot of, he got abandoned by his father, the mother couldn't take care of him, so you have a lot of that in Chiron, that when we deal with the asteroids, the feminine aspect, Chiron then would be half horse, half woman, or half, actually I should say, often you see Chiron depicted as a woman, but is the half human being and a half horse, because we have this in the myth about strength. He gives a lot of strength no matter where we come up, and it comes up very strong, especially in healers. Now we went back again here, sorry. So the Chiron of the symbol of the Chiron is the key and grounding into the power of being here and now, and allowing us to perhaps hoping that there is healing to continue, to be continued. And throughout 2016, Chiron is not so fast. He goes still into Pisces from 17 to 20 degrees throughout. So if you have a point in your chart, that's like mid, we have 0 to 30 degrees. So Chiron throughout 2016 would be 17 through 20 degrees. And you wish Chiron and Pisces, Neptune energy would be closer, so that would be more healing occur. But astrology is one way to look at that. And again, thank you for staying with me. But if you want to have your chart looked at that asteroid, you can go on the internet, and there's many sources. And I do thank you for staying with me. I'm Agneta Borstein, and we want to thank Nutmeg Television for allowing us to bring these kind of topics to the public. Thank you very much.